Mr. Shabir Razvi, an economic expert, is joining us over the phone from London. Mr. Razvi, we've been hearing a lot about the impact of the sliding ruble domestically in Russia. What impact is this going to have on neighbouring countries as well? And who exactly would be actually affected by this?
Hello, good afternoon. One's got to look at it in a more sort of complex manner as to what's happening with the ruble slide. It's become very clear that the economic weapon or the economic warfare is now the main weapon which is being used by the transatlantic elite, which is really the network of the elites based mainly in the G7 countries, which run the New World Order, or what one may call the new liberal globalization. And they're really trying to subordinate Russia and to integrate every other country still resisting this process. And really the three key countries which are the target of these G7 transnational elites is Iran, Russia, and Venezuela. Obviously, at this moment, the slide in the ruble is having an impact on the surrounding countries, like in your opening introduction, Belarus and others who were tied in with the ruble. But what you've got to remember is that a lot of it is also Western media propaganda. Whether you look at the mainstream media or you read anything on MSM, it appears that Russia is having a huge problem. Yes, of course, the fall in a currency has an impact on that country. But what you have to remember is that Russia has been decoupling itself from the dollar since the middle of this year. The ruble as a currency is becoming a sort of a medium of transaction between a lot of nations, Russia and China, the BRIC countries,
Brazil,
with the
ruble
India,
currently
and South
sliding
Africa.
so much,
With
the ruble sliding so much at the moment, we have reports that it's gone down against the dollar by around 45%. Is there going to be that demand to use the ruble in exchange with other countries such as China and the other countries you're referring to?
Oh, absolutely, because they are transacting their own currencies against each other. What you've got to remember is that the dollar or the euro or the pound sterling, these are international transaction currencies, and especially the dollar, because America wants to control the world economy. Therefore, they print more and more of the dollars. At the end of the day, we've seen the economic crisis in the West and the USA. Both these blocs are not in a very good shape. But the huge propaganda that's being done against Russia and to really punish Putin for his actions over the last couple of years, whether it's in Syria or what's happened in Ukraine, and also with the slide in the global oil price from nearly 40%, 50% down from what it was. So all these factors are very important to look at, not just the slide of the ruble as to what's happening exchange rate vis-a-vis the dollar.
And of course, with this ruble that is sliding, because it has fallen quite considerably over the past couple of weeks, prices are increasing in Russia. That means their imports are becoming more expensive. How is that going to affect the exports for the European countries? Because obviously the Russian consumers will then have to look for other substitutes.
See, it's a very interesting chess game which is being played. Obviously, what you've got to remember is that Russia has lots of gold reserves. Russia has still a lot of dollar reserves. That's what the central bank over the last couple of days has been doing, is to increase the interest rate to, in some ways, stop the slide of the ruble. But at the end of the day, what I was trying to say earlier is that if you remember, only 10 years ago, dollar-denominated securities counted for 90% of the reserves worldwide. Today, it's down to about 60%. So in 10 years, a lot of the countries do not have dollar as their reserve. And that is a big problem that is facing the dollar and the Washington consensus. And that's why they are trying to punish Russia by creating these engineered, artificial fall in the ruble.
Shabir Razvi, an economic expert, thank you very much for joining us over the phone from London.